everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Rachel and this is Stitched Up. So thank you all for joining me again today. Hope you're all really well. It is Saturday as I am filming this, and yes, the end of the working week, and I thought I would come on to you today just to do a little bit of a chatty catch-up vlog because I've not done that for a little while. I do like to do the Friday sews, but I just don't seem to get time. Well, it's not that I don't seem to get time. When I've got the time, because of the time of year, it's too dark to film. So it just invariably means that I come to you on a weekend instead, but I hope that's okay. I wanted to just firstly thank everybody who has recently subscribed. I've had a flurry of new subscribers this last couple of weeks, which has been really lovely. And yeah, if you are new here, thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoy my content. There is lots to choose from on my channel if you want to go and have a little peruse. But yes, it's lovely to have you here. So what am I going to be chatting about today? So I am going to talk to you about one of my latest makes, which is here, but I do have a couple of new things to show you, and also a few little plans in place as well, and just a general sewing chat, catch up with me, and yeah, that's about it really. So if you are wanting to carry on watching, go grab yourself a coffee or a cup of tea or beverage of your choice, and we will get straight into it. So I will start by talking about what I am wearing because it's cold. I'm sure, you know, us UK people just talk about the weather all the time, don't we? And it is really cold. We have been having a very mild autumn up to the last week when it has plunged. And we did have a little bit of snow the other day as well, but it didn't stay long. Doesn't tend to around this time of year, to be honest. But yeah, it's been bitterly cold these last few days. So I am here in my conservatory, freezing, and I've got my little oil-filled radiator next to me because the heating, I've talked about this before, but heating a conservatory is not easy, and working in here is going to be a bit hard over the next few months, I think. So I've got my little heater on, so hence the jumper. This is a ready-to-wear jumper, but I do have a shirt on underneath, and that is handmade. It is the Atelier, I was going to say Atelier Joux, but it's not. It's Atelier Brunette La Chemise, I think. It's either La Chemise or La Blouse. I always get them mixed up. I have made both, but I get them mixed up. This is made in a gorgeous sort of cotton that I got in one of my Beyond the Pink Door subscription boxes a couple of years back now. And we love a classic white shirt, don't we? Let's face it. It's such a workhorse and a wardrobe staple. So, having said that, I don't think I actually wore it last year, but I think when it's really cold, having a shirt under a jumper actually makes me feel warmer than just like a t-shirt under a jumper. So I thought I would put it on, and it's not a usual style for me, I'll be honest. Having a shirt under a jumper is not a style I normally wear, but I think at the moment comfort is paramount over style. So I am here with my shirt, jumper over. I'm not going to take the jumper off to show you the shirt, but if I can find a photo of said shirt, I think there is one on my Instagram, I will insert it here so you can see it. And I'll also insert the pattern because it has this really amazing pattern detail of how you put the pattern pieces sort of, not on the bias as such, but you alter how the pattern pieces are laid on your fabric. So the front yoke goes right into the sleeve. It's really clever, and I really enjoyed putting this together actually. And because this fabric has like a sort of, it's got like a stripe detail to it with the detail on the fabric, it just makes such good use of that in how the pattern comes together. So anyway, you will see in the picture that I insert how that looks. But yes, it's a lovely shirt. I do love it, and I don't know why I don't wear it more, if I'm honest. But yeah, I'm feeling very toasty with this. And then I've just got ready to wear jeans on, and I've got Norwegian wool socks because my feet always get so cold. And I find if I wear normal socks with slippers, my feet are still cold. But if I've got these Norwegian wool socks on over the top, which my husband bought me last year, do you want to see them? Hang on, let me just move my mannequin so you can see them. Look at that, they're amazing. And yeah, he got me those for Christmas last year because he's always complaining about how cold my feet are, and they are delicious, I have to say. So yes, I look like a dog's dinner today, but I don't care because I'm at home. and I'm warm, and that's what matters. Right, first make. This is the SisterMag Patterns Sleepover Set, I think it's called. And if you watched my vlog, not the last couple, but I think the one before that, I mentioned that I was now a Patterns and Plains ambassador, and this is my first ambassador make. So I got this gorgeous bamboo cotton. It is absolutely beautiful. It doesn't, you can't see just how gorgeous it is until you actually feel it. And last weekend I went to the Lake District with my gorgeous Northern Soul sisters, Ruan and Tamlin. We went for the weekend to have a little bit of a sewing getaway. We've started doing this annually actually, and it's our second one to the same cottage. It was beautiful. We had a really lovely weekend, and I took these with me because I wanted to get photos in them. Never got that done, so I do need to do that. But Ruan actually had a feel of these, and she couldn't believe just how gorgeous this fabric was, and said she's going to have to get some herself because you just don't see how beautiful it is on screen, and the feel of it. It's not like your normal brushed cottons that you feel. It's got this delicious buttery softness to it, and it's absolutely beautiful. Anyway, this is called Kearney, and I will link to it down below on the Patterns and Plains website. Amanda, who runs Patterns and Plains, has 25% off all her fabrics at the moment on her website for Black Friday. So if you are interested, you can get this at a really good price. I think it's only about £11 a metre in full price, but obviously you can get a really good discount on that at the minute, and they do have it in a few different colorways as well. But yes, I wanted to make some tartan pajamas for winter, and I've wanted to do that for quite some time. So I chose this beautiful colorway of the Kearney fabric and set about making the SisterMag Patterns Sleepover Set. Now, I have never made one of their patterns before. However, I do have their trench coat cut out, which I was planning to sew up at our sewing retreat and just didn't get started on it. So that is next to sew. But when I'd purchased that pattern, about a week later, they emailed me and sent me this pattern completely free, which was so lovely of them. So I thought, right, I'm going to make it up as my Patterns and Plains ambassador project. So what you get with this is you get a short sleeve t-shirt and short set, or you can do the long sleeve version as well. It's got this beautiful shawl collar detail, and all the seams are flat felled inside, which is really lovely because you get extra strength there. Flat felled seams, if you don't know what they are generally what you see on the seams of jeans. So it just gives you that extra strength. And yeah, this pattern has that as well on the seams inside, which I did do, to be honest, because I thought, why not? So I sewed this up. I ended up cutting out the pattern pieces on the single layer rather than on the fold, because with this being tartan, I did want to pattern match. So the shorts are here actually, and you're probably thinking, here are the shorts, look. You're probably thinking, why on earth have you made a short sleeved shorts sleepwear set when it's bitterly cold and we're heading into winter? And that's because generally, when I get into bed, I do like to sleep with something on, but I can't sleep in full length pajamas because I just find that as I'm moving about in bed, the fabric gets sort of stuck on the bedclothes, and then I've got twisted and I'm pulling them around and everything, and it just drives me insane. So I much prefer wearing shorty PJs in bed. And that's why I wanted the shorts version of this. So for this shorts version, it takes 2 meters of fabric. However, they draft for about 5'6", and I knew that I would need to lengthen slightly, and on top of that also have to pattern match with it being tartan, because I really think this is one of the problems when you use a tartan fabric or a check fabric or anything with stripes, that you don't have to pattern match. You do you at the end of the day. But I think if you are going to the effort of hand making something and you want that really beautiful finish, it really is worth it. So to do that, don't even try to get your fabric on the fold and try to line up everything, because it just, especially with tartan, you can get away with it with stripes, I think, but with a tartan or a check, you really do have to, it's just too much hard work to do it that way. Just cut it out on a single layer. You get a better use of fabric doing it that way, and you'll just get a perfect, almost perfect match. So I cut mine out on a single layer, and it really has paid off, because you can see I've got this beautiful pattern matching across the front bodice here. Everything lines up perfectly, and at the side seams as well, I've got perfect pattern matching there. Here is the side seam. It's almost invisible, considering I've done a flat felled seam there as well. And I did try with the sleeves as well, so you can sort of see how the green is almost matched up on the sleeves. It's a bit tougher to do it on sleeves, because obviously you've got a curve there as you go into the sleeve head. So that's always a bit more difficult and challenging to do that. But I've tried my best with that, and I think I've got away with it. And then the same with the shawl collar. The facing inside is not perfect, but I'm not too bothered about that, because that's inside the garment. But then this shawl collar more or less matches up, which is just chef's kiss. I just think it's fabulous. So at the back, you have a centre back. No, you don't have a centre back seam. It's cut on the fold at the back. And yes, the collar at the top doesn't quite match up there, but that's fine, because my hair will cover it. And if anybody is looking that closely at the back of my collar on my shirt, they're too close. That's all I'm saying about that. So the top has come out beautifully. Buttons I have used are by Jazz and Wow. So I think she still does these. I'm not sure if I got them in my advent calendar last year, but they are green with clear resin buttons. And I just thought they worked really nice, rather than me going out and buying more buttons. And then shorts are here, as I've just shown you. So the shorts are actually, they don't have pockets, because the legs are cut, are cut in one piece. So the pattern piece for the legs is, you've got one pattern piece per leg. So it's got the front and back that is all together, which the Paloma pants by Anna Allen Patterns is the same. And I was a little bit hesitant, I'm going to say that, because I'm very curvy. I am pear-shaped, so my bottom half is incredibly curvy, and I have a really big waist to hip difference. It's about 12 inches, something like that, 12, 13 inches. And yeah, that causes me problems when it comes to all-in-one pattern pieces. So I also felt that I would need to do a full butt adjustment, which again is really difficult on a all-in-one pattern piece, because you can't add any curve, because there's no side seam, because it's all-in-one. So it just means that that sort of pattern piece doesn't work for me. So initially I thought, shall I just go with a tried and true pajama bottom that I know and love? But then I thought, well, you know, this is an ambassador make, and I've said I'm going to make the full pattern, so I thought I'm just going to go with it. But I did make some adjustments to the bottom pattern piece. So what I did was, I actually cut where the side seam should be. I cut the pattern straight up, so I'd got a front and a back. I did a full butt adjustment on the back pattern piece, and then I rejoined them. And it meant that I had a slight gap, which would have added an extra, because obviously once you've done a full butt adjustment on your back pattern piece, it alters the side seam, so it's not straight anymore. So it meant when I rejoined that to the straight front leg pattern piece, I'd got a little bit of a gap there, but I just went with it because I thought that extra little space at my side seam is going to benefit me, if I'm honest. And it's worked. I'm really happy that I did that, because I do feel if I hadn't have done that, I probably would have found these too tight, and I would have had the sort of where the back waist seam dips down a bit, because there's not enough room over the curve of my butt. So I am really happy with that, but it's meant that I've been able to keep the full all-in-one pattern piece. So there's still no side seam on these trousers, but on these pants even. But the problem with that again is that you can't put a pocket in unless you put patch pockets, because there's no side seam. You can't do that. So that's fine. I'm okay with that. I think this is probably not my preferred choice of pajama bottom, I would say. It does have a full elasticated waist, and I haven't top stitched the waist because I just wanted to get them finished, if I was honest. But they do have a lovely cuff. So you've got a really nice cuff detail there, which again, I've tried to pattern match as much as possible. The cuff is not a separate pattern piece. It is just folded up and stitched in place, which means pattern matching is easy on this kind of fabric. And then the inside seams of this, which there is only sort of a centre front and centre back seam, I have pattern matched really well, because again, I did cut this out on the single layer, and I've just finished that seam on my overlocker. I've added little rosy cheek 2025 labels because I'm trying to use them up before we end the year. So I've put one in my pyjama bottoms and also in the back neckline of this top as well. So yeah, I went with a size, I think I did a 42 top, and I did 42 to a 44 hip on the trousers, and that's worked out fine for me. So yeah, super happy with how they fit. Instructions wise, I would say SisterMag Patterns expect you to know what you're doing. So I wouldn't say that this is a beginner sew, even though they're fairly straightforward. Obviously, a shawl collar is a technique that might be new to you, because your pattern piece is really oddly shaped around the top. And I have done a few shawl collar patterns before, so I knew how that came together. But I would say the pattern instructions were not the best in how to construct the shawl collar compared to what I've seen when I've done previous shawl collar patterns, because they just expect you to know what to do. So the pattern instructions are very brief. There are technical drawings with the pattern instructions, so you have got line drawings with that, which are clear, but it's not always clear. I don't know if that really sort of makes sense, but I know what I'm trying to say, is in the images are clear, but trying to relate that to what the instructions are telling you is not always, it doesn't always match up, if that makes sense. So I would say if you've got a fair bit of experience behind you, constructing these will be no difficulty whatsoever. I think the shawl collar sits beautifully, so the drafting is brilliant. It's just that, yeah, if you are a beginner, I would say give this pattern a miss until you've got a few things under your belt, just because I think the instructions might leave you scratching your head a little bit. So that aside, I really enjoyed putting this together, and I absolutely love my new PJs. So I will put a picture in of me wearing these. I am going to brave it once this conservatory gets a bit warmer and strip off, put these on and get some photos. So hopefully you will see them on me and you can let me know what you think. So moving on, the next project that I have almost finished is one that I did start at the retreat last weekend when I was away with the girls, and that is Layla, my lovely granddaughter, who's 2, her Christmas Day dress. So I've got into this habit now, I guess, of each year wanting to make her Christmas PJs and a gorgeous sort of special occasion dress to wear at Christmas. And this year I had bought some tartan that I picked up from Boys. I think it's just a tartan cotton, but it is a dressmaking width. And I picked up that for £5 a metre. So I got myself 2 metres because at the time I wasn't really sure what pattern I was going to go with. And so I wanted to make sure I'd got enough, because I just wanted to go all out on the big floofy Christmas dress, if that makes sense. And then when I got back, I had a look at some of my go-to pattern designers for girls' dresses, which generally are Violette Fields threads. I use Peony Patterns, and the other one is Little Lizard King, I think. They're my 3 that I tend to go for. And I found what I was looking for on the Violette Fields threads, I think that's what it is, pattern website, which was the Penelope Dress. So I will insert some images of the pattern here. So as always with Violette Fields, you get loads of different combinations of a pattern. So you will see from some of the tester shots that there are just so many different styles of this dress that you can make dependent on fabric choice and all this kind of thing. And one of the things that drew me to this dress was firstly the lovely Peter Pan collar, which I wanted to go with, with the tartan because I thought that would just be beautiful. But also I wanted to work with tulle, and I have never worked with tulle before. This is my first time. But I knew that now Layla was a little bit bigger, that it would just make the most beautiful occasion dress. And I thought this is a really good opportunity to work with tulle for the first time and see how I get on. So I bought the pattern, downloaded it, looked at the sort of versions that I wanted to do, and I had a thought about doing a contrast collar, so the Peter Pan collar being in a different fabric to the main dress, along with the waist sash. And I was going to go with the tartan for the main dress and then do a tulle sort of underlining. And so I bought myself the tulle. Now the tulle for the age 3, because I couldn't decide whether to go with age 2 or 3, but I thought, you know, she's 2 years or she'll be 2 years and 9 months come Christmas. And I thought, I'm going to go with the 3, even though she's petite, because I thought she might get a few parties out of it over winter if she goes to those as well. And I thought it's rather being just a bit bigger, because the sash can be brought in. It can just be, you know, tied in a little bit tighter if it's just a little bit on the large size. So I went with the age 3, and the amount of tulle you need for the age 3 dress as the underskirt was 9 yards. And I did an absolute sort of big intake of breath when I read that. But I understand that things that I've read before, when you're using tulle for a dress, is you need a lot of it to get the sort of big poofiness, the big marshmallow size, I guess, and the effect that you need a lot of tulle. So I went ahead and purchased 9 meters, because obviously in the UK we buy meters, not yards. 9 meters of tulle, red tulle from Textile Plaza. That seemed to be not the cheapest, because obviously you've got to be careful, I think, when you're buying tulle online, because a lot of when you put tulle into sort of a search engine, a lot of what comes up is actually netting, and that's really quite stiff and scratchy, whereas tulle is more ethereal and it's lightweight and very soft. So you need to be really careful when you're buying it online. But I did find some in Textile Plaza, which I was very optimistic when I looked at the listing that this was what I needed. So I bought 9 meters of it, and yeah, when it came, it was the right stuff. So I have made this dress. It is almost finished, and I am absolutely over the moon with it. If you are on Instagram and you follow me on Instagram, I did put this up on my stories the other day, because I just thought I've got to show everybody this, because I'm just so happy with it, and I wish it fit me, and I wish I had somewhere to go where I could wear a dress like this, because it would just be amazing. But anyway, it doesn't fit me. So here is the Penelope dress by Violet Field Threads, and we've got this gorgeous little Peter Pan collar, which is lined with tartan. I decided in the end to go with the red tartan. Originally I thought of black or white, but then I am actually really pleased I've just kept it all tartan now. And let me tell you, cutting these collars so that they matched was super difficult. It really was, because you can see by how they lie, they are cut on the bias, and it was really difficult to get these to match. I mean, they are not perfect, but they're almost perfect. So I'm really, really proud of myself for how I've managed to do that, because the first collar that I cut out looked like it matched, but then when I sewed it together, it was totally off. And the thing is, when you've got a dress like this and you've got a collar like this, your eyes are drawn to the collar. So I knew that I had to redo it and get it as near perfect as I possibly could. And I don't think I've done too bad a job. So I'm really happy with that. I'm still toying with the idea of putting, like, you know, getting some like little applique or little embroidered flowers or something and just putting them on. I don't know. I might just leave it plain. I think there's enough going on. But let me know what you think. Now, the bodice front, you've got 2 options with it. You can just do a plain bodice, or you can do a pleated bodice. I've done the pleated bodice, even though I think the effect, you can just see the pleats there, look. You've got 2 on one side and 2 on the other side of the centre front, and they're both sort of pressed in opposite directions. I think, you know, you can't see the pleats looking at it from a distance, but close up, it just gives it a little nice little extra detail that I do quite like, if I'm honest. And yeah, I'm pleased that I did that rather than just a flat front. But I think, yeah, in this fabric, it is a bit lost. You've got the option of doing a little cap sleeve or the 3/4 sleeve with a sort of bow tie on it. I initially was going to go with the cap sleeve, but then I thought, you know, it's winter, it's going to be cold. I'm going to go with the 3/4 length. So that's what I've gone with the little ties on there that tie into a little bow. As I say, it's got this sash detail that is fixed in place. So it's fixed into the front bodice, and then at the back it's loose. So you've got big straps at the back that then tie into a bow at the back, which allows you to sort of pull in the back. But then the beauty of that is it doesn't sort of distort the front bodice with it being attached to the front bodice. And then the big poofy skirt. So we've got this huge skirt which is all gathered into the bodice, and then underneath the skirt, again, I had to do all the pattern matching with this. So everything was cut out on the single layer. And then underneath you've got a 2-layer tulle. Well, when I say it's 2-layer, each layer of the tulle is 4 layers thick. So you've got 4 layers of tulle per layer of tulle, if that makes sense. And all that is gathered in and then attached to a lining, which I've just used the same tartan because I had plenty of it left for the lining. So you've got, yeah, 8 layers of tulle underneath this as well. And it's really clever how you attach it to the lining. So you've got your lining piece and then you mark on points from top down, from the top waistline, if that makes sense. So you mark down a line around and then mark down a little bit again, and you've got 2 different length layers of your 4 layers of tulle. So each layer of tulle is a slightly different length as well, and then you attach them, gathering them up onto the lines you've put on the lining, if that makes sense. And it gives you this beautiful effect. So what I would say is my tulle layers are, I mean, they are not perfectly straight. I have tried to make these as straight as I can, but sewing all that tulle onto the lining is really difficult. It really is, because it moves around a lot. It's really fine and you've got to gather it up. Gathering it up was easy because when you actually put a gathering stitch through it, it naturally gathers up as it's going through your sewing machine. So that bit was easy, but then attaching it to the lining to try and keep everything in line was really tough, to be honest. And what I would say is when I cut my tulle, I did it with a rotary cutter. You cannot cut this stuff with a pair of scissors. So if you are going to use it, I would highly recommend you getting a rotary cutter and cutting mat because you're going to need it. You will not get a lovely straight edge finish with a pair of scissors. In hindsight, because you're cutting through 4 layers of tulle at a time with your rotary cutter, you need a really sharp blade. Mine was probably, I mean, it's sharp enough at the minute because I'm using it for cutting everything out, but it's not a brand new blade. And so I found when I was cutting through the 4 layers of tulle that it was shifting slightly and catching a little bit at certain points. So I didn't end up with a really super sharp, clean finish that was perfect. So that's my, my learning point from that in future, when I do another dress like this and use tulle again, because of course I'm going to have to make her another tulle dress. I would love to make this version, with the tulle skirt. It's got a full tulle skirt on it. I think, to make her like a little ballerina style dress would be beautiful, as even just for a dressing up outfit would be amazing. So I'm definitely going to do that at some point in the future. But I know from making this that next time I will put a brand new blade on my rotary cutter so I get a super sharp finish and everything stays lined up. So that led me to just having a few little snags on some of the tulle in little areas that I needed to take care of, and it meant that it's not perfectly straight. The tulle is supposed to hang down below the outer skirt. That is a design feature, but you can see that it is not perfect. I have tried, there's been like a couple of areas where I have taken it back to my cutting mat and just tidied up a few little areas that looked really, really sort of wonky, I guess. But then the rest of it I think I quite like the effect of that. But yeah, if I was making these, because I know some people make these kinds of dresses to sell, you know, my skills are just not perfect enough for that, I think. But it's a real skill cutting tool, I think, is what I would take from this project. But I've loved making it. As I say, it is nearly finished, but not quite. I've just pinned the back bodice because I need to make 3 buttonholes on the back bodice and buttons as well. Now, I haven't got any buttons in my stash. I went through all my stash to find appropriate buttons for this. I think I just wanted plain red and I don't have anything, so I'm going to have to buy something. But I did have the self-covered button blanks that I think I got in a Beyond the Pink Door subscription box a few months ago. And I've got the button maker, you know, the self-covered button maker, the little, I don't know where it is actually, but it's, you know, the little sort of rubbery one that has all the different size. Where can I hang this? Let me hang it on there, look. That has all the different size slots in it to make self-covered buttons. So I thought, you know what, I've got plenty of scraps of the tartan left. Let's have a go at making some self-covered buttons. Now I had because I think this the actual button blanks themselves, you can get plastic ones or metal ones, and the ones I'd got were metal, so I thought these are going to work really well. Well, they didn't, did they? So I have got 2, well, I made 3, and there's only 1 that's perfect. So these are them here. I mean, they will look lovely. That's what they look like from the wrong side. They will look lovely on the dress. This one is not as perfect because it's quite battered, because getting it into the sort of rubbery thing was a bit of a challenge, and I ended up battering down the blank a bit. So whereas that one is quite domed, this one is flat. I don't know, you can't really tell. So it doesn't feel perfect enough. And then this one initially was perfect, but then the metal backing plate has come off very easily in my hand, so it's all fallen apart. So I've ended up with 2 semi-usable ones, and I did consider buying some more blanks and having another go, but then I've actually thought I'm going to get a button press machine. I know that seems extravagant, but it was my birthday a couple of weeks ago, and my lovely husband had saved up some money for me for my birthday. We went away to Whitby, for those of you that haven't been following me for a while. And while we were there, he just said, look, whatever you want, you can have. If you see something you want to buy for your birthday while we're here, because it was my birthday while we were there, then he said, just get what you want. Anyway, I didn't see anything at all. And I didn't want to just spend money just for spending money's sake. But now I'm thinking, actually, I would love to make more self-covered buttons. Sometimes, dependent on the fabric you use, you can't just find the right button, can you? And I know it's a bit of an extravagance, but that's what birthday money is for, isn't it? That's what birthdays are for, to treat yourself to things that you don't necessarily would normally buy. So I am considering getting myself the button hand press machine, which is, I think, about £50, or it might be a bit more, I can't quite remember. And then the button dies for it as well, because I do have the green hand press machine, which I use for applying eyelets and press studs and all that kind of stuff, and it's brilliant. I love it. But the dies, you can't get dies for that machine for self-covered buttons. It's actually a completely separate machine. So I think I'm going to get that and get the die for the 15mm buttons, which this size is, and get the button blanks as well. And all that as a kit, I think my husband has enough to cover it. I'm going to ask him if I can use my money that I haven't spent yet for my birthday on that. And then I've got something that I wouldn't normally slash out on that I think should give me perfect self-covered buttons. And then I can finish this dress. That probably will be the most expensive dress I've ever made for a child, when you take it all into account, considering buying the button machine and whatnot. But I think I will use it in future as well for other self-covered buttons. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And then the only other thing I've got to do on this is I have to finish the waistline seam, because I haven't done that yet. It needs to go through my overlocker, and there are quite a few seams there, and I'm a little bit hesitant because I'm wondering if my overlocker will struggle. I'm not sure. So I might just try it with a few layers of cut-offs of fabric first and see. And if it's coping fine, if I do it slowly, it might be all right. If I feel that it's going to struggle, then I think I might just bind the waistline seam raw edges together to finish it, and then it's done. So I'm super happy with it. I think it's beautiful, and I'm so proud of it. We are having Layla next week. She's coming to stay for a few days. We've not actually seen her apart from on FaceTime, because obviously they live in Leicester, which is about an hour and 45 minutes away from me. So I haven't seen her in the flesh for a few weeks now, and I'm pining for some time with her, bless her. So yes, we've got a few days off work coming up this week because it is my husband's birthday next Friday. He's got a big birthday coming up. So it's his birthday on Friday. I do have to go into work on Thursday, but that's the only day coming up this week that I'm going to be working because he's got the week off. So I'm going to spend some lovely time with him. And then he is going to pick Layla up on Thursday while I'm at work. And then we're going to have the full weekend right through to next Tuesday with her. So I will get the opportunity to hopefully try this on her and make sure it fits. Fingers crossed. So that is my other big project, what I've got done this week. And I would say it was actually super quick to put together, really. I mean, once I'd got everything cut out, I think the thing with when you're using tartan fabrics and checks is a lot of the time is spent in pattern placement and cutting out. I'm trying to get everything really accurate, and the sewing bit is actually super quick because once you've got everything cut out, sewing it together and hemming is easy because you've got something to go off. You know, with the tartan and with the checks, it's easy to hem, it's easy to line up on the side seams, etc., because you've got that sort of straight edge to already used as a guideline to hemming and lining up and stuff. So that bit is super easy. So sewing it was really, really quick, apart from the tulle bit. I was, having a few stressful moments with that, but we got there. And yeah, I'm super happy with it. It's beautiful. Right, the last thing that I've got made, I am so conscious this vlog has been going on for so long already. So I hope you're still with me. If you aren't and you've had enough, I do apologise. But anyway, the last thing I wanted to show you, what I did make, is that I made literally just before I went away to the lakes last weekend, and that is a advent calendar. So I'm in the process of sorting the sewing room out at the minute, which is why my sewing space is out here in the conservatory. And during some of that process, I came across a kit, an advent calendar kit that I think I bought. I must have picked it up from somewhere like Aldi or Lidl a few years ago now, and it's been in my stash for a long time and never actually took the opportunity to get it made up. And I found it and I thought, you know what, I'm going to get that made for Layla going into December, so that we've got this really lovely, she's got a handmade advent calendar that can be a little bit of a keepsake that she can keep every year as she grows up. And I'm not saying it's a heirloom because it's really not a heirloom, but you know, it's something for them to keep. So this is it made up. So it is this lovely Snowman advent calendar. Now, what you got in the kit, it was very inexpensive, to be honest, but what you got in the kit was the front piece of the advent calendar, and then you had all these little pockets on a separate piece, which you had to cut out, including seam allowance. And then you also got a piece of batting and a backing fabric as well, and then bias binding. You also got the string and the actual bar across the top as well. So everything was included with instructions on how to do it, which were really straightforward. And yeah, I am super, super happy with how this has come out. So it was actually quicker than I expected, because you needed to turn over, once you've cut out all these individual pockets, you then need to turn over by 1/4 inch, firstly the top, and then top stitch it, and then obviously put it in place on the backing fabric, and then edge stitch 1/4 inch once you've turned over each of the other edges of each square by 1/4 inch. So that bit was quite fiddly, and I thought it's going to take forever, but it didn't, to be fair. It took me probably about 3 hours in total to put this together. So I quite enjoyed putting all the pockets in place. I think I've got them all more or less perfect, and I'm really happy with how the edge stitching looks. One tip I would give you if you're going to do something like this is I used fabric glue. Once I had pressed over each edge of the squares, I actually stuck them down onto the main fabric with fabric glue before I then edge stitched them in place on my sewing machine, because it just meant that they were stabilized in place and they didn't end up on the wonk, which would have been a disaster. So I'm really happy with how it's turned out. Once you've done the front, you end up then obviously attaching it to the batting with the, you know, the sprayable adhesive, and then the same with the backing piece, and then you do the top stitching. So it tells you where to top stitch through, well, the quilting, should I say. So you can see on the back easily where it's all quilted in place. And then you attach the bias binding all the way round, attach on the little straps as well, which are included, and then you tie it onto the little handle, and then it's done. So all I need to do now is get 25 chocolates, because obviously it's got a 25 on it as well, which is the biggest one. So I need to get 25 little chocolates or little gifts or whatever to put in there. And then Layla's got a lovely little reusable advent calendar. As she progresses through her childhood, I did add a little Rosy Cheeks label on the back, so my daughter can keep that for her, and yeah, I'm really happy with it. I think it's really cute. So I really enjoyed that. It made a nice little change from dressmaking, and yeah, it was a nice little project to do that was fairly not stressful. So that is everything I've made over the last couple of weeks. I did mention that I haven't started on my trench coat yet. I am planning to do that sort of next. It's the next big project I'm planning to make. But what I want to do before that is make a few sweaters, because it's probably Tamlin's fault, to be honest, because she's like the queen of jersey making, to be honest. She makes so many lovely jersey garments, and I tend to not make so many. But I do have some jerseys in my stash, some that have been in a while, and some that, well, one that is a fairly recent purchase. And Tamlin wore a very new made Jackson tee from Helen's Closet when she came down to the lakes last weekend, and I loved it so much that I thought I really need to make some more Jackson tees, because it's such a staple, and with the weather being like it is, I think it's great as a throw on. So I have pulled the pattern out of my stash and pulled some fabrics out, and I am going to make some Jackson tees because they're very quick makes. Haven't made one for a couple of years, and yeah, so the fabrics that I have got from my stash, firstly is this one. This is a Poppy Fabrics Neon Animal Skin, it's called, and it is a cotton jersey. So I have got this one. I can't remember where I got it from. I think I might have got it from First for Fabrics a couple of years ago, but they won't have this in stock now. It's just lovely, really nice. And I've just got some navy ribbing that was in my stash that I am going to pair with that. I was hoping I would have like some purple or even a mid blue, but I've decided to go with the navy. I think that's probably going to be right for me. And then the other one that I've got in my stash is this one. This is a French terry. It's a loop back French terry. I think I got this from, I think it was the Fabric Obsession. And again, I am going to go with navy. I know it's boring, but I just think that's going to work for both. So I have got, this is all I've got left of the navy ribbing. I hope I've got enough there to get 2 neckbands and 2 pairs of cuffs out of that as well. And then the other one that I'm going to do, this one definitely was from the Fabric Obsession. This is again is a French terry, and it's beautiful. It's this one. So I'm going to make a third Jackson tee with that one because I just think it's so nice. And then the last one I'm going to make is this one. So I want to make one out of this. This I got in the summer from First for Fabrics. They did this in 2 colorways. Again, I think this is a cotton jersey. Yeah, this is a cotton jersey. It's really nice. And I am going to use probably a pink, I think. Either a pink or a light blue ribbing. I'm not quite sure, but I haven't actually got the right colour yet. I have just placed an order with First for Fabrics, so hopefully that should be coming at some point in the next few days, and then I can make a lighter one as well, because I know it probably looks a bit summery, but we can wear what we want, can't we? Whatever time of year it is when you sew your own, that's how it is. So I want to get those done today. Well, maybe not all of them, because there's 4, isn't there? So I'm not going to batch cut, because I've tried batch cutting before and I hate it, if I'm honest. I'd rather do one at a time, get that done, and then cut out the next one. So yeah, because otherwise I feel like I'm on a bit of a sort of conveyor belt with sewing and I don't enjoy the process. So I'm not going to batch cut. I'm going to do one at a time. And yeah, that's my plan today, is to slowly work through making some Jackson tees. I'm going to do the long version, the long sleeve version, for this time of year, because I think that's going to work well for me, and I'll grab them all the time to wear with jeans. So yeah, I'm going to get some of those made. And then once I've got that done, I'm going to start on my trench coat. So I'm looking forward to that. A little bit nervous, having made the PJs, because it's the set, not the yes, the PJs. It's the same pattern designer. I'm a little bit nervous that the instructions might challenge me, but we'll see. We'll see how we get on. I'm sure it'll be fine. Right, I've been going for 3/4 of an hour, guys, so I'm getting a little bit dry. I'm going to go make myself a fresh coffee and crack on with some cutting out. But I hope you've enjoyed spending time with me today, listening to me rambling on about my latest makes and what I'm going to be sewing next. So please don't forget to give this video a like if you have enjoyed it, and if you haven't subscribed yet, I really would appreciate it, because there's about 30% of you that watch me that don't subscribe to my channel. So please do, because it's free. I won't bombard you with nonsense, so unless you choose to listen to such nonsense. But yes, you won't get any spam from me or anything. So please do, if you don't subscribe, I really would appreciate it. And I'll be back with you really soon. Take care. Bye.